Good afternoon, everybody. Hopefully you are staying warm if you're from the Midwest. But I am joined today by a couple of my colleagues, Brett LaForge, our SPLA Program Manager, and Brian Fuhrer, our VAR Assist Program Manager. And I lead the channel sales and marketing effort here for North America. Today, we're really excited to speak with you. We have what's a fairly new program throughout SoftwareOne, which is our indirect CSP program for all of our value-added resellers, MSPs, our hosters, SIs, and even those of you that might have recently received the notification from Microsoft needing to move from a direct partnership over to indirect. So without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started here. So our agenda today, we're going to discuss how you can seize the cloud market opportunity, a little bit about why we went ahead and implemented the indirect partnership with SoftwareONE. We're going to talk about the ideal partner for your business needs. So there's a lot of different types of partner profiles that this fits and works really well with. So we're going to discuss that. We're then going to talk about our platform. So it's called the One Club Marketplace. We're very excited to share that with you. Then we're going to talk to you about why SoftwareONE. We understand that there's a lot of different providers that you have the choice in going with, and we want to talk to you a little bit about some of the benefits that we can provide. Lastly, we're going to wrap it up with a little bit on the pricing and how you can drive revenue opportunities through us. And then we will go ahead and get into some Q&A. So seizing the opportunity. So with SoftwareONE's One Club CSP indirect partner program, we understand that there's a lot of cloud challenges in the space with the way that the market's moving, right? So we have a couple of different programs that we put in place. We have a tool and system and resources through our One Club Marketplace, which is going to serve as an automated one-stop shop for you to be able to provision and manage your services for Office 365 and Azure licensing. We have a cloud support team that is recognized in about 20 plus countries, and that cloud support does have a global footprint as well. We're going to talk a little bit about our licensing expertise, right? So we have 25 plus years of licensing expertise through SoftwareONE, and they're able to extend the full value of offerings to our customers and make sure that we put you into the bucket of licensing program that is a best fit. And then we're going to talk to you a little bit about the profitability of maximizing on the CSP program. So why CSP indirect? So one of the reasons that we came up with this program, or we wanted to get involved with the program rather, is we understand that you have a lot of choices, right? So traditionally, SoftwareONE has been in the space of helping you manage either EA agreements, your SPLA agreements, or you could purchase direct through us as a customer. Now we have extended a secondary arm, which is going to allow you to enter the market even faster and be able to monetize on that through Microsoft. You're going to be able to work with an experienced technology provider. Again, our software sales team has been in this for 25 plus years, and we're considered the licensing experts, so you don't have to bring your own. And then you're going to be able to avoid the costly expenses and the strict requirements of maintaining a direct partnership, which we'll get onto in a little bit later slide. So next, I want to talk to you a little bit about all of the different partner profiles that work very well with our indirect program. So this is going to be a fit for those that are born in the cloud, ISV partners. Maybe you have a really unique solution or offering, and you want to try and figure out a way to monetize on that. You can actually you can put your infrastructure on Azure, for example, and you can start monetizing on that through our platform. This is a great fit for our hosters and SPLA providers. I'm not going to get into that quite yet because I'm going to turn that over to Brett LaForge. And then we have our VAR and our SI community that we've been in the space with for some time, and Brian will discuss on that. And then lastly, we have our discontinued CSP direct partners. So as of last year, Microsoft put in a minimum requirement now that there is a $15,000 minimum advanced support agreement that's in place to be able to maintain a direct partnership. We're able to help you reduce that burdensome and the expenses that come along with that by becoming an indirect provider. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Brett LaForge.
Yeah, thanks, Kim. So we'll talk a little bit about empowering hosters and SPLA, and I wouldn't necessarily just dwindle it down to those two topics, but really no matter what your company profile may be, whether you're a MSP provider, a VAR partner, hosting company, anything like that, especially SPLA, I think we could all agree that the licensing is complex. And to take it a step further, it's not just the licensing, but really the way in which you purchase and manage and even deploy technology can also be challenging. So, as I'm looking at this slide, three things really stand out. The first one would be consulting services. How do you know that CSP indirect is even the right program for you? I know it's on today's call we're talking a lot about CSP indirect, but I would say the one thing with SoftwareOne is we're not just authorized for CSP indirect, we're also authorized for CSP direct, we're authorized for SPLA and some other programs as well. So to me, consulting means educating and coaching you around the different programs available and offers to you. As it pertains to CSP indirect, how do you maximize some of those rebate opportunities that are available to you? I've been managing SPLA for 12 years now. And what's interesting is over those past 12 years, I've never seen Microsoft offer incentives and rebates to partners. I would say that's a big differentiator between like a CSP indirect and SPLA. So I think some of it is around that consulting practice. The other one is partnership. So to me, partnership is how can we mutually grow our businesses? And what we're defining here is really a channel as a service. So if you're a ISV or you're an infrastructure provider, or you offer a unique solution, how can we partner together to go after other partners and other end users, not just here in the US, but also globally? And the last thing I would touch on is around just SPLA pricing in general. And I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but SPLA pricing continues to increase. And so I guess part of this consulting engagement is comparing pricing and understand the licensing impact, because that can greatly affect your profitability. Now, I know there's more information on this slide, but our primary focus is really to educate you and coach you and provide all the different options available to you. I always kind of joke around with my partners and even my other coworkers is, hey, you go on vacation a week and Microsoft can change the rules on you. And it's kind of our job to keep you updated on all these changes, because I think ultimately it'll affect your business. So Kim, can you go to the next slide? So for those of you that are under the SPLA program today, you may be asking yourself, well, what is going on with SPLA and what is the direction Microsoft is going with it? So if you look at this slide on the left-hand side, you'll see, the Microsoft SPLA business today and even in the future, it continues to grow pretty rapidly. Despite the CSP indirect model and despite these other offerings that have come to fruition, the actual business in of itself continues to grow. But from a Microsoft perspective, they also look at SPLA as a big differentiator between other cloud providers, because they're saying, okay, you can migrate to our cloud, if you will, or Azure or Office 365, but you could also migrate to a partner's cloud, or what they would define as a private cloud. So they look at SPLA as, yeah, the business is growing and it's a way to traverse some of their offerings. But if you look on the right-hand side of the screen, where is Microsoft going as a strategic perspective? I would say, they are transitioning SPLA to CSP. And they're also adding more and more resources into other programs like the CSP indirect programs. And like I alluded to earlier, they are raising pricing for certain programs to make others more of a viable solution. So I'd say in short, SPLA is not going away, and I don't think it really ever will go away. But at the end of the day, the resources and all the marketing activities and incentives, it's all going into this other cloud channel, which would include the CSP indirect. So the way I kind of look at SPLA is it's almost like the open licensing program for those in volume licensing, where, yeah, it's still a viable solution, it's out there, but how many incentives and resources go into the open licensing program? Probably not a lot, right? But when you look at CSP indirect and some CSP direct and other channel activities, that's where all the resources and activity is really migrating to. So Kim, can you go to the next slide? So some key considerations for CSP indirect, and again, part of our strategy and our go-to-market is really consulting you on how to best purchase or best procure some of these programs. And I would say, as you speak to CSP Indirect in particular, CSP Indirect was actually built off the SPLA program. It's month to month, true up, true down, you get the latest version rights, etc. But when you look at going to Microsoft Cloud directly, in some instances it could lower your compliancy risk only because you purchased an Office user subscription license. That user now has subscribed to that service, so it's a little bit different than SPLA. So it kind of lessens the compliancy risk to some extent. As I alluded to, you can earn incentives. There are higher margins to some extent depending on how you build your solution. But if we're looking at it from a cost perspective, individual SKUs, you're looking at plus 11%. There's no initial support requirements, as Kim said about the CSP Direct program. CSP Indirect, there's no support requirements. And what I get asked a lot about with SPLA is the technical support. Is there technical support included with SPLA? And the quick answer is no, but there is technical support included with the pricing with CSP Indirect. So go ahead, Kim. And finally, I would just, ways we can help. I call this, and I kind of invented it on the fly, is a cloud optimization workshop for hosting providers. So if you are under SPLA, you can almost look at this as like a combination of a business review as well as a strategy session, because ultimately you want to understand your business goals and objectives. Because again, as I mentioned, it's not just talking about CSP Indirect, it's not just talking about SPLA. It's really what program best fits your organization and how you can be most profitable by doing so. Part of this conversation is also around licensing. How can we ensure compliancy? What are some considerations you should factor in? Whether that's taking advantage of Windows Server subscriptions or just Windows Core licensing. Like we need to review some of those licensing nuances just to make sure you're compliant. And I also get asked a lot is, hey, what is the other guy doing, right? How are they going to market? How are they being successful? So it's talking about some of those industry best practices and some of those scenarios. So if you are under SPLA, this cloud optimization workshop is certainly free of charge. It's just a way for us just to really sit down and understand your business, because SPLA by nature is transactional. And I think we're not doing each other justice by just placing an order. I think we really need to understand the business value behind it. So Kim, next slide. I think that kind of concludes our section around the SPLA and the hosting community. Now I think we can transition over to the VAR Assist, where Brian can take over. Brian?
Thanks, Brad. Sure, be happy to. Kim, if you could go to the next slide. Many of the benefits to the VAR Assist partners, what I would call our traditional VARs and system integrators, are pretty much the same as they are to our SPLA providers. And it was interesting to me to hear a SPLA expert sit there and talk about open licensing and some of the things that we've dealt with for over the last 10, 15, 20 years. I think what we are going to be offering that many of the distributors that we deal with today, that of our partner or a system integrator may deal with today, are things like we are going to have a variety of services you can add to your portfolio that may be outside of the scope of what you traditionally offer today. In the case of SoftwareOne, many of those revolve specifically around strategic sourcing, licensing agreement reviews, things like I'm looking at should I sign up for a 3-year agreement? What are the conditions that may come to hurt me as an end user customer? And looking upon the VAR for that type of strategic help. Those are the things we're going to be extending to our VAR Assist partners and now our Tier 2 CSP partners. And then I'll talk a little bit about some of the abilities, as Brett mentioned earlier, helping you identify those incentives, rebates, other things Microsoft and other publisher offer to get you to move into their cloud, into their program, into their business practice. We at SoftwareOne have lived that world for the last 20 years. So we really understand it much better than anybody else. It is what we have built our business on, and those are those expertise Kim's talked about that we're going to be able to extend to our VAR partners. Why don't you go ahead to the next slide? I'll be talking about some of these as we move along. For those of you who may be unaware of our VAR Assist program, it started almost 15 years ago, and it had a very simple premise that we were going to offer licensing and agreement expertise, and we were going to do it in a non-competitive environment. In our case, it was to help you keep competitors or a traditional large account reseller, we called them a LAR in those days, out of your strategic accounts. We don't sell hardware. We don't do networking. We don't do, those networking components or peripheral sales. We have never done them. So it was a good ability to bring us in, help you retain account control, and earn a little bit of incremental revenue from the sale of that licensing. In the time, we also gave you that information so you could start to build a services pipeline around that licensing. This tier 2 sales, to me, is a perfect extension of that program, in that now we can give you the ability to offer CSP licensing. If you say, I don't want to do it, the VAR Assist program still exists today. If you want to sell it, we are more than happy to help you show your customers the benefits of CSP over any other type of agreement, help you win that business. And our licensing includes a partner support mechanism, so your IT team can support your end user customer. It is backed by a Microsoft Premier agreement. I always call that if your IT guys are out helping an end user customer and they need some help, here's your perfect phone a friend. Next. So what kind of changed in the market? And I want to talk about a little bit about how we adapted. It's no big, I think everybody in the world understands that the cloud has taken over the business, and it's really just because all the hardware, networking, and bandwidth just made it available. Hosting or running your applications in remote data center has been around since the 70s. It's now just economically feasible to allow many people the ability to do it. What's really changed in this market that I see a lot of the VARs and system integrators struggling with are the change in the licensing policies, and those companies who are enacting those changes to drive their subscription sales and drive their cloud consumptions. Those changes are hard for people who are not in this specific industry, the software licensing industry, to keep up with, as they are literally changing month to month, and every publisher is changing their rules. I'll just give an example. Adobe and AutoCAD, they changed to subscription only. Many of the rights we have seen typically tied to a product are now tied to maintenance agreements. So does your customer have one? Can they move to the cloud? How is that? What's legal? What's not? What's compliant? When am I out of compliance? Those are the things that I think we at SoftwareONE can help with. But what we've done for our partners and our end user customers is we've created a portal to address not only things you may have bought perpetually, but also your cloud licensing, the cloud consumption, the various agreements that administer those two different types of programs, and equally as important, how are they being utilized today? That's just something not available in the marketplace. I'm not aware of anybody who allows you to go to one single site to look at on-premise and cloud licensing and look at the consumption and the utilization statistics all under one umbrella. Next. So as I talk to our VAR partners and our system integrators, these are some of the services we'll be offering to you to offer to your end user customers. Many of these, as you can see, are outside of what I would call a traditional VAR or system integrator's scope of work. Things like license advisory services. These have been probably the most requested items from our customers of SoftwareOne. Help them match a license acquisition to their technology roadmap. As you know, many of these agreements, I mean, some are 1 year, many of these can be 3 years or more, and they don't want to get locked in to these type of agreements if it doesn't match their roadmap. We can help with that. And many times we can position CSP strategically better than many of these higher end agreements and more cost effectively, which drives revenue for you and us as well. We do have an incredibly strong asset management, a licensed asset management practice. We do not only compliancy reviews, but that SAM as a managed service. Those will be available through this partnership with you as well. So you can benefit, you can promote them, you can make money on these as well as us. And we also have a strategic procurement service. These are items that are just not available through distribution. They understand, as Brett mentioned, they understand open, but they don't represent MPSA agreements. They don't represent enterprise agreements. They don't represent Adobe's VIP or enterprise agreements. So this is something I think we're going to add a lot of value to the partnership with. Our newest program that we just launched literally this month is the ability to partners to sell with us or through us any of the cloud-based products and any of the traditional products in an easy to access mechanism. Kim will be showing you a little bit later today. Continue to add value to those CSP sales, but if you need extra licensing, if the customer comes back and says, I need more SQL, that is not a cloud-based service, how can I acquire it? We can show you the best way to do it. It may be an advanced agreement that is not available to you through distribution. It is available to us. And all of these are backed up with our global services, our support of you, the partner, in a 24/7 mechanism. It is built into our pricing and backed with a Microsoft Premier agreement. This is something that others just don't offer, or if they offer it, they charge you for it. We include it in our price, and as Kim will show you in a bit, our pricing will be much more attractive than many of the arenas you have available and open to you today. Next. I think this is where Kim's going to jump in and take over. Kim?
Thank you, Brian. So next we're going to talk a little bit about the partnership that we have, to Brian's point. So before I go ahead and move on here, I did just want to recap on some of the different, partnering benefits that you have through SoftwareOne. So through SoftwareOne, we're not only trying to make this a profitable venture for you, but we also want to make sure that this is easy. We understand that with all of the different change and demands, that this can sometimes, all the different licensing programs and keeping up to date, to Brett and Brian's point, we want to make this something that's very easy and lucrative for you, and we don't want to make it complex. So we're going to show that through the SoftwareOne Club Marketplace, which I'll discuss in just a moment. We also have our cloud support, which we already touched on, the licensing knowledge and expertise of our sales teams. The way our program is designed, it gives you the ability to really, make some additional profits by wrapping around professional services that either we can help you with or you can wrap your own around these services internally. And then our X Simple offerings. So we want to be able to help you reach new potential customers for your business. So through our global marketplace, we're able to offer you a unique solution through our international network. And what I mean by that is because of our global footprint being in so many different countries and continents, you have the ability that if you have an office or if you have a customer opportunity that is outside of the US, we want you to know that we can help you support that. And that's because we have offices aligned all over the continent to be able to help facilitate that for you. And that goes hand in hand with our geographic coverage. We are globally headquartered in Switzerland, but we have 65 local subsidiaries. And right now where CSP is authorized, we're in 11 and growing to, I think, 14 over the next few months. And we have sales teams and clients that are serving in more than 145 different countries. Another thing to just take note is we do have our publisher and vendor reach reaches to quite an extreme. So we have an independent expertise on our publisher portfolio. We have 10,000 different types of vendor publishers that you can actually provision your own services from. And then we're also going to be working as we continue to build out the channel program. Microsoft CSP program is just the tip of the iceberg. Our ultimate goal is to be able to start wrapping in additional services and publishers around that might make sense for bundling together. So our value-added software asset management practice that Brian mentioned, this is something that is available to our customer and partner community that you can take advantage of, where we can basically pull some data on your current customers or environments, and we can basically break it down for you and help you. If CSP and direct is not the right fit, maybe there's something else that is a better fit for you, and vice versa. So if you are, have a lot of money being spent currently on EA agreements, and we want to be able to partner with you so that you can start retaining some of that revenue yourself. One of the biggest value adds that we are going to be able to kind of support you and partner with you on is that we understand first that every company, every customer that you work with is not going to be a one-size-fits-all model. Having the ability to be able to support all of the different various Microsoft agreements now, to Brian's point, some of the larger distributors that are 100% partner model are unable to support these agreements, and these are going to be our EA and MPSA agreements. Now you can actually go to market, and whatever based on your customer needs or your own individual needs, we can facilitate those agreements through us through a partnership. The next slide I'd like to discuss is our One Club marketplace. So basically, I'm sure many of you are thinking, how does this exactly work? What fuels that engine, right? So our Software One Cloud marketplace is going to be the platform in which you are going to log on to be able to provision and manage all of your customers from one single stop shop. It's a very easy, very simplistic ease of use. If you can shop on Amazon, I promise you should be able to place some orders for your customers on here. But through here, there is a sign up link in the upper right hand corner when you go to this website. And this is a link that will basically help us create your partner profile and be able to give you your credentials to your login. In this portal, you will have the ability to view all of your customers billing, and be able to place add-on orders if you wanted to increase, decrease number of seats, add on additional support agreements. You have the ability to do all of that right from one portal. You can also open up tickets directly through that portal for your support through our sales team, which I'll touch on in just a few minutes. And so touching on this just a bit further here, this is really a platform that is going to empower our partners to be able to invoice and manage those cloud subscriptions. One very unique feature that we are really proud of is going to be, if you're playing in the Azure space, we have a native reporting tool that allows you to be able to view very detailed, granular consumption and usage reports for your customers. We've been told by other partners ourselves that this is in many ways much more granular than the Partner Center, and we're very excited to share that with you. So if you are in the Azure space, we encourage you to reach out so that we can get you additional information on that. How the cloud support works through the indirect CSP program. The indirect CSP program does require, regardless of who you go with, for the partner to have some sort of first level of support and contact. So what I mean by that is we ourselves will give you a certain number of support incidents on a month-by-month basis, and this is going to be based on cumulatively how many users that you have across all of your customers. So to give you an example, if you have 3 customers and your total seat count is around 1,500, you will have a set number of incidents that you would be able to use through Software One. So customer would contact you. You have the choice on remediating that yourself. Maybe you have a current support infrastructure in place to handle that. If you don't, then you would basically open up a ticket with our team, and that can be through email, phone, or through the support ticket mechanism on the One Club portal. And our team will make sure that we remediate that entire issue until close. If you want to purchase additional incidents, you can purchase those for $250 a month in 5 packs, or for $750 you can purchase unlimited. So if you have a concern that you have maybe a very demanding customer that's going to be contacting you a lot, it might make sense to look at one of those other options for you. And then lastly, the cloud support footprint. So as I mentioned, we're in over 11 countries right now where we have supporting different languages. So if you have a unique need to be able to speak with somebody in another language, or if you have your subscription set up through one of our other offices in another continent, it will be local language. Next, we're going to chat on how you can drive revenue opportunities, and I want to talk to you a little bit about what that pricing looks like through SoftwareOne as well. So through SoftwareOne, you obviously you're gonna be able to purchase your seats through us at a discounted rate, and I will talk on that on just the next slide. But another thing to note is you don't just make money on the margin that you are gaining from reselling these licenses to your customers, but Microsoft also has plenty of partner incentives and rebates in place. To Brett's point, there are a lot of programs that Microsoft runs where there aren't incentives, or there's very minimal incentives and rebates. But that is going to be different for the partner program. So to give you a little bit of insight into what kind of money you make with this, I'm sure this is a big question for everybody on the call. Right off the top, for all of our Microsoft Cloud plans, and this is going to be anything from Office 365 to SharePoint to Skype for Business, all of these plans are going to start at a minimum profit for you as the partner. If you sell this, and this is based on you selling the SKUs at full MSRP, it's going to be around 11.1%, which is very competitive with the industry and in many cases above average. And now, again, the flexibility that you have through going through CSP is you are not locked into an annual agreement when you choose the monthly plan. You can scale up users, you can scale down users. So it goes hand in hand with a lot of flexibility in terms of what your customer needs are. How Azure works, it's going to be a little bit differently. So you would basically set up a $0 tenant with us on our marketplace, and it's basically going to charge you on just the consumption and usage of what's running on Azure. How you make your money on that is by back-end rebates and local accelerators that Microsoft has in place. Currently at 7%, but based on your silver or gold competencies, or if you send certain individuals to Microsoft competency training, you can actually more than double those. Microsoft's offer also runs various programs to further incentivize you, and one of the exciting ones that we have that just was announced recently is the Microsoft 365 Business Scholarship Program. So if this is an area that you are playing in, we definitely want to be in touch with you. So Microsoft, for the first 100 partners that meet the program requirements, and you can find more information in this link, and we can send it out after the call as well, you will get sent to Greece for an exclusive training opportunity with the Microsoft 365 business team. And those dates are going to be over the summer. Another advantage is Microsoft recently rolled out what's called our Microsoft Cloud Enablement Desk. So we always understand when you're launching a new piece of your business, or you're trying to gain new revenue opportunities and trying to gain new customers, we want to be able to have something in place that will work with you to be able to achieve those milestones. And how that works is Microsoft has just rolled out what's called the Cloud Enablement Desk, and this is for qualified resellers. So as you see here, the Cloud Enablement Desk, you're going to be assigned a specialist that will help identify business needs and opportunities. You'll be able to connect with additional partners and resources, and you'll be able to, you'll get different incentives based on, where you are in that journey and different commitments. And some of those even include getting leads handed off to you directly from Microsoft, depending on where you are. In order to be eligible for this, you would sign up on our One Club marketplace. You obviously would have an MPN in order to be on that platform. And then Microsoft will reach out to you. As long as you're an unmanaged partner, Microsoft will reach out and they will get you in touch on all the details to get authorized for this engagement. So lastly, I really wanted to, we'll open it up for Q&A in just a moment, but in terms of how you can get started, we have a couple of different methods. So if you have a local BDM or ISE here at SoftwareOne, I encourage you to shoot them a note. If this is something that you're interested on, we can get you additional content or pricing. You can also go ahead and get started by signing up at the link above. It's partners-us.softwareone.com, and that is the marketplace that we are running our platform and engine on for One Club. When you go onto that platform, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, there'll be a sign-up link. Just complete the information and partner profile. If you know who your sales rep is here, enter their name. If you don't, not a problem. We'll get you in touch with somebody. And then we'll send you off the agreements for signature and the indirect link that you will accept in your partner center to be able to align with us appropriately. You can also contact channel.us at softwareone.com, and we'll put you in touch and get you all the information you want on the program. And then lastly, we do have a lot of resources and plethora of information that's out there. So we encourage you to hop onto YouTube. We have some videos that came out over the last 6 months. Neil Lomax, our president for North America, has some additional insight on the program and what's ahead with us. So we're very excited to hopefully be on this journey and partner with you. And next, I think we can open it up for Q&A. If you have any questions, go ahead and enter them in the Q&A box, and we'll read those out loud for you. Question 1 is, will my clients, end users, parentheses admins, be able to modify license count from the tenant admin portal or from the new SWO portal? So the answer to this is yes and yes. We have an end customer access that you individually can provide to your customers through the portal, which will give them their own unique login name. So if you want them to be able to add or make any changes to those licenses or subscriptions, they have that ability to do so. We do strongly encourage and recommend that all of this happens through the SoftwareOne portal. For example, if they were to make a purchase in Partner Center versus the One Club Marketplace, you won't be able to capitalize on that. So if they do a cancellation, obviously that would not be an issue, but we want to make sure that all that revenue stream is coming through you. Next is, how can I request a demonstration of the marketplace, and is it customizable and white labeled? Great question. So yes, you can reach out and we can coordinate a demonstration for you, and we also have some additional resources that we can send out as well. And in terms of customizable and white labeled, it is to the partner, yes. So you can go ahead and put your logo, you can change the color schemes on the portal, and that would basically serve as something so that if you wanted to give your end customers access, it would look like your own.